to everyone who is watching this programming from WHCI and in cooperation with the League of Women Voters of Greater Hartford. This is the first of 4 candidate debates that are sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Greater Hartford and West Hartford Community Interactive for the 2021 municipal election. I am Carol Mulready, a member of the Greater Hartford League, which is a nonpartisan political organization which encourages informed and active participation by citizens in government. I will serve as the moderator of this debate among candidates running for a seat on the town council. I'm pleased to be joined here in our virtual event by Jennifer Evans, our partner and excellent executive director of WHC TV and Interactive. Our question screener for this debate is Nina Giroux, and the timers are David Pettyjohn and Libby Sutek. Most importantly, we welcome the group of 5 candidates running for the town council that are part of this first of 3 debates for the West Hartford Town Council. We have Sherry Cantor, who is a Democratic incumbent and mayor of the town currently. David DeHaas, a Libertarian candidate and non-incumbent. Mary Fay, Republican incumbent and longtime member of council. Lee Gold, an incumbent councilor and member newly of the Connecticut Party. And Liam Sweeney, who is a Democratic incumbent from the council, Democratic council, and a Democrat for the town council incumbent. Thank you. The bios for these candidates, we urge you to check out at the soon-to-be completed biographical profiles on WHC TV and the League of Women Voters election website, vote411.org, which has candidate bios as well as written responses to questions that are currently being uploaded by the candidates. Now, a quick review of the format for this event and now how you, the audience, can participate. The debate will be conducted in a modified cumulative time format, which allows candidates to talk freely instead of having a 1-minute time limit for every answer, for example. Each candidate will have approximately 8 minutes of response time during the debate. In addition to prepared League of Women Voters questions appropriate to this office, the public is invited to ask questions. They may be submitted through the Q&A tab on your Zoom screen. They will be read by the questions chair, who will screen them to avoid duplication and check for appropriate content for this municipal office. The questions may be submitted at any time during the event. Each question posed will be asked of all the candidates. Candidates have been encouraged to keep their answers on the short side in order to address as many questions as possible during the 40 minutes of discussion. Periodically, the timekeepers will signal to candidates when answers are approaching 2 minutes, and the moderator will indicate how much time has been used about midway during the discussion and ask the timers to tell us about how much time each person has left. Candidates are encouraged to rebut and surrebut, responding to their policy and philosophical differences as they perceive them, understanding that the clock is running. Each round of questions is initiated by the moderator, and each candidate has an opportunity to address each question in whichever way he or she wishes. This is the first time that we have done a municipal election in a virtual format, so it's new for us. COVID-19 has created many experiences that we did not expect. And I think over the 18 months that we have been dealing with this, we know that all things don't always go smoothly, but we certainly have done everything we can to try to make it go smoothly. Finally, each candidate has 2 minutes for a closing statement. The order of precedence for speaking was determined by lottery, and we rotate the first response among the candidates for each round of questions. So it's now my privilege to begin, except that I didn't bring my questions. So Libby, do you happen to have the questions nearby so you can ask the first question? And I will go find my questions. There's one of those things that can happen.
Thank you, Carol. Everybody hear me? Okay. Our first question is money related. How do you think COVID money coming to West Hartford should or will affect the tax burden on the mill rate? Carol, who did you say was first?
Sherry is first.
Sherry's first, and then everybody chime in, please.
Okay, first I start by thanking the League of Women Voters and WHCI and all of you that are volunteering and are interested in tuning in to be educated and engage in the political and the democratic, I shouldn't say political, the democratic process. This is so important. For ARPA money, that is for West Hartford, it's $25 million that we receive. We will receive it over 2 years. It needs to be spent by the end of 2023. And this is money that we will get one time. This is not a structural budget money. So we're being very judicious about how we spend this money, investing in infrastructure and future investments that won't dig us a hole for future. So we can displace some things we might have had in the capital account that we might need to do in the future, but this will not be budget offsets in operational funding. Otherwise, we would be using one-time revenue and digging a hole. So we will be strategic about it. We actually are discussing a very comprehensive list at our next Finance and Administration meeting, and it will be, I think, to the benefit of the taxpayers of West Hartford in a very wonderful way, and all the residents of West Hartford.
Thank you. Would someone like to debate? David, you're muted.
Yeah, no, I guess I was supposed to go second. So,
Okay.
so the question was about funds for the help during the COVID pandemic. I definitely think that the money should go to help those that were hurt from COVID. You know, it's like when it comes to the so I said in that 411 question that I think all COVID relief should help the small businesses in our town, because during the lockdowns, they weren't doing any business. So, you know, like if a small business is not a corporation, it's not a big corporation could take the hit of lacking business for a few months. But like us losing any of our small Connecticut owned businesses in our town because of COVID would be a tragedy. So I think that if we're going to get $25 million over the next, I think 2 years, was it? They should definitely go in to make sure that these people's who own these businesses, their livelihoods can remain.
Someone like to respond?
I think if I may, number one, again, thank you to Carol and the League of Women's Voters for the opportunity to put together this platform, and also to Jen Evans for putting all this together. I truly appreciate it. I really think the COVID relief fund, that the ACA money, needs to be used in an efficient and productive way. I've mentioned this before. It has to be used to help our residents. I think there's an opportunity here to address certain services that were paused during the pandemic. And I certainly would want to use these funds in a manner that follows federal guidelines set and established for our town. Again, it is a one-time event that needs to be used and utilized by 2023, at least earmarked as to where the funds need to go to. And I think it's important to help alleviate our taxpayers in town, and the strategic use of these funds would help in that way. If it affects social, medical, first-line workers, things like that, I think are important. I think we could utilize these funds in an appropriate, meaningful way for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Anyone else? Okay, so let's take one more question. Explain how you will work with colleagues to meet your goals to balance services and property taxes. And the person to get this question is David DeHaas, and followed by any of the rest of you who would like to respond.
Okay, cool. So first off, one of the big things that I am trying to bring to the table is to bring us closer together so we are able to have conversations and deliberate on these issues. I am just so sick of the divisive nature of politics in this country in general, and especially on the local level, we should be able to all, not just as colleagues, can communicate with each other, but also like we should be building for friendships and we're all neighbors, we're all part of West Hartford, so I think that is very relevant. And I can't. Can you just repeat the question quickly, actually?
The question was, explain how you would work with colleagues to meet the goals that you have to balance services and property taxes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to what the government does in our community, so my goal would be kind of twofold. One, I want to make sure that the property tax is not taking more money than necessary. So when it comes to the basic functioning of our local government, I want to make sure that we're not over exceeding upon the basic functioning. And two, I want to make sure we're spending the money very wisely and efficiently. And just to very quickly give a little taste of my personal ideology, which I don't want to let my ideology muddle up like everyone else's ideas. I want to listen to other ideas. I really do want to deliberate and find the best compromises and solutions. But I do imagine that the community has political and economic power outside of government, and that it's just not really being utilized to its potential. So I do see kind of an alternate way of using funds other than taxes to do the basic services that is necessary for our community and society in general. So
thank you, David. Someone else that would like to discuss how you will work with colleagues to balance the challenges of providing service and property taxes.
Hi, Carol. This
All
is
right,
Mary.
Mary.
I'm great. Perfect. Thank you so much for hosting us this evening, along with Libby. And it's a great forum, and I hope that we have a lot of folks tuning in so that they can see the differences and similarities. A lot of us agree a lot of the time, although it might not feel like that sometimes, but that's the truth. And I think what I would encourage folks to do who are tuning in, please go back and look at the voting records, and you will see clearly who votes for what and how it impacts. So, I think I've done a great job of representing everybody, and I've been the lone voice for conservatives, as I get attested to by just about everybody who writes to me. And they're very, very grateful that they have somebody who will represent them, and we don't have just single party rule like we do in our state. So diversity of thought is very important. So Mr. DeHaaf, I would welcome you if you do win with open arms, and I would love to get your ideas. We've all talked about efficiency, operating efficiency with the COVID funds as well. And I think it's all about priorities. So we have to make sure that we prioritize any money that's spent in this town. So our plan would be around improving infrastructure and transportation, local businesses as well. We'd like to enhance support for our schools and make sure that we're focusing on the ABCs of school and that all children have the opportunity to learn. My pet issue, as you all know, is public safety. I come from a long family of veterans and police officers, NYPD, detectives, and I think we need to make sure that we call our legislators. They've got to help us. Waterbury Police Chief just came out and said a lot of the increase in crime and severity of it, it's escalated very quickly, is because of our laws really treating criminals with kid gloves, where they have more rights than the victim. So that's something that's very important to me. And then of course, fiscal responsibility, which is my background. So I share the common goals that others have spoke of, but I think I'd like a little bit more finite information on the budgets. We don't really do line by line, which I think would help. But there's a lot of suggestions and we do have to collaborate. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary. Liam, would you like to chime in?
Yes, thank you. And I echo the mayor's comments. Thank you guys for putting together today's event. I think that one of the things that we've tried in town is to put together a bipartisan budget, and we've seen votes that equal that. We've had in the last couple of years, we've had bipartisan support on both budgets that have been put forward through the town, and that's been something that mostly been led by the mayor, and it's been great to be a part of. So I think we've seen a lot of those efforts, and I think where we really saw it the most was when the town needed it the most was during COVID. I thought our council came together pretty comprehensively into our two special committees. We all showed up. We all talked about what was needed in town. I chaired the Human and Community Services Committee, and through that, we really talked about what were the needs for kids. And I think that's something that everybody was wanting to figure out at that time. And what we were able to do is we were able to work together to get services up and running for kids in the park in a safe and COVID-friendly way. And there are a lot of different initiatives as well. We saw the town's investment in moving forward with development in the Elmwood area, particularly with the St. Bridget School, on looking forward to how we can help our children. That was also something we worked across the aisle on. I know that we didn't all agree on it, but it was something that we did have bipartisan support on. So I think a lot of the things that we see in other communities where there is kind of this political clash, we see a lot of collaboration here in town, and that's something that I think both, just speaking for our party, that the mayor and I are really proud of to see. Folks from the other side want to collaborate, and I know that we've talked with Lee multiple times about this, as well as I've worked with Mary as well on a few different issues in town, dealing with both with our kids and community services, and it's something that I'm really happy to see that we're able to do in town, unlike in other communities.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, if I may, Carol.
Yes.
I too have. I echo Liam in the sense that it is important to have an open mind, open thoughts, open ideas, independent thoughts moving forward so that we can work together collectively and it helped to improve the town. Yes, the St. Bridget School purchase, I think, is a tremendous asset for the town, both for not only young adults, but also for seniors as well. It'll serve as an anchor and a bridge across the town from north to south. Connecting with the Trout Brook Trail, which is in development and almost complete. I think these are all aspects that will help illustrate how our town is moving forward and can be a beacon for other towns to follow and attract other people from other states even to relocate into West Hartford. And we've seen a large property values have increased drastically through the COVID, the pandemic era, and people are moving out of places like Manhattan, Westchester County into West Hartford. And, I think that's a testament to how we've worked together and how I want to continue to work together. And that's one of the tenets of the A Connecticut Party of West Hartford that we're trying to promote. So thank you.
Thank you.
Carol, I would just like to chime in and just say that that has been an absolute priority to include and communicate with everyone on the council and make sure that every question is answered and receive every idea and incorporate them and treat everyone with respect. I think being closest to our communities, potholes are not political, right? So we need to solve problems, and working together is the best way to get to the answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think we might have some questions from our viewing audience. Nina?
Yes, we have 3 viewers who have asked about plans for the town's high schools. Plans to either keep as is or consolidate, and if consolidation is the interest, any details around that?
Carol, I guess I'll take that one. I think that was directed.
You are first. You are next.
I am first, so thank you. And I appreciate the question. Part of that concept revolves around one of the things that I've been working on with town staff and talking with other members of the council who are generally agreeing that we need to look and strategically identify which buildings in town might not have a lifespan left. And it's not necessarily in our budget or our prerogative to continue putting money into older, tired buildings when there's an opportunity perhaps to streamline and strategically consolidate certain buildings. I wanted to start a conversation, and I think having the beginning of a conversation is important. Yes, I've heard it's very heavy lifting, consolidating certain buildings in certain areas of town, but at least it's a conversation that needs to be addressed so that we can situate our town potentially for decades in the future and generations, rather than looking at things from a month-to-month basis. And those are some of the things and ideas that I brought up, and I think it's important to at least have the dialogue.
All right, follow up. Mary, did I see your hand?
You did, in fact, Carol, so thank you very much. Clearly, Mr. Gold has been in favor with a lot of things that I'm not, and that's okay. We have to have different opinions. And I think with the Connecticut Party, being Lee, for instance, voting with the Democrats all the time on financial issues that I did not. He's not a financial conservative. He went for pension bonds, the budget increases in expenses. He wants to combine Conard and Hall. And I think that's something that we would have to talk very heavily with. I don't think residents would support it. And I'm from a town, East Hartford, as you all know, and there was Penny High School and East Hartford High School. There was a fantastic football rivalry in all sports. We got along. I've got some very dear friends from East Hartford High School. I happen to go to Penny, the south end of town. And now they're combined. In fact, in the middle schools are combined. So I think when we talk about people's children and their education, we have to be extremely careful in what we're proposing. I do agree with buildings that need to not be fed anymore. I've actually asked for an inventory of every building that's within the town's purview. And I've called through that list. And I don't know that the high school's consolidation would be something that I would be for. I mean, we need a lot more fact finding, but Mr. Gold, no offense, it's great that he sends his kids to Kingswood, Oxford, as does Mr. Merritt. So my child goes to public school. My dog goes to a facility too. So he's my child. She's my child too. But I think we have to be very careful with education. People love their neighborhood schools, and believe me, they did in East Hartford too. Nobody likes the consolidation of the two big schools. They're too big. They're overwhelming. The kids get lost in the shuffle. There's a whole host of reasons why I would not be for that whatsoever. But I am in support of looking at opportunities to do things different with our infrastructure, whether that be firehouses or, even the police station, even though that's fairly new, it's in a very prime real estate location. I believe there are things that we can move around. It's a chessboard, right? It's a huge chessboard. And there's things that we can do that make sense. Mr. Gold voted for a tax abatement for a very large development. The St. Joe's building will be one park. It's on Park and Prospect. That's the first time, and all the Democrats voted for this too. So he votes for the Democrats. He's not independent. And I gotta say, that's a slippery slope. It's the first time we've ever offered one. We're a top-ranked community. People love it here. We shouldn't have to give freebies away. I'm not in support of that. I'm more of a fiscal conservative, and you can count on that going forward. So thank you very much.
Very briefly, Carol, if I may respond. Thank you for your comments. There's a few things I do need to address briefly. I don't need to address my children. Everybody has choice. Mary, you're very aware of what that means. And my children didn't need to necessarily go there. And I'm not talking about children or my children. Everybody has a choice to make. I still live in town. I respect our schools. Both my children went to Aiken Elementary. They had a great education and continued on and matriculated to Kingswood. And that's a great place. In terms of the one park, and I do disagree with you, it's something that it was a one-time event that effectively matriculated the town into potentially and in perpetuity hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was a religious St. Mary's it was a non-tax paying event for many, many years. In exchange, there's private developers who are putting in $65 to $70 million into the Park Road development. And I've gone building by building, small business owner by small business owner up and down Park Road. I'm sure you'll say you have too. Every single one of them is ecstatic that a development like this has a steroid injection into our town. And to put that into Park Road I'm beyond elated to be able to vote for something like that. And that's the most important thing, is to develop business. And for somebody not to be able to understand what hundreds of thousands of dollars mean to the town in perpetuity bothers me. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has not spoken yet who wishes to?
Please.
contribute?
Yes, certainly.
No, Mary, hold on. Mary, excuse me. You already spoke to this issue. Is there anyone else who wishes to address this particular question? All right, last word, Mary.
Just very quickly, I'm all for development. I've supported many of them. I'm not for tax abatements. That's all. I think the residents deserve better treatment, and they deserve the tax abatements first. So that's my only comment. I am pro development.
Thank you. Great. Okay, thank you. All right. Nina, do you have another good question?
We have a question. What have you done to ensure bipartisanship and reduce tension at the local level in today's polarized political environment?
All right, that question goes first to Liam.
Thank you for the question. I thought we addressed this in the previous question, but I think what, I guess we'll just go back to the answer. So I think one of the things that, the last 2 years have been really hard on everyone with COVID. And I thought the best thing that we did was the mayor to put together these special committees while we were in the middle of this kind of very difficult time. And so what we were able to do is put together these bipartisan committees where we encompassed multiple different issues. Again, I chaired the Human and Community Services, and on that, I know that multiple members of the council participated, particularly Lee and Mary. We all talked about the ways that we need to help our kids, the way that we could figure out ways to make sure that services were being provided to folks. I think one of the things that we worked on and the town led on was making sure that our seniors were getting the ability to have rapid COVID tests when they needed it for those that couldn't make it out. And in addition to that, I think one of the things that we saw in the bipartisan budget that we put together was an investment in our paramedic services that was had a lot of foresight in it, in the sense that these paramedics were then allowed to were able to provide direct services to our elderly population during COVID, while not only providing testing, but in the later half of the pandemic, being able to provide shots to those that needed, and that was very helpful to our elderly population in town. I think that was one of the really great ways that we worked together as a team, and all were working to push and make sure that West Hartford was in the right spot. And I think the other big thing that we came together on was providing immediate relief to homeowners in towns who were not receiving rent. We provided a tax relief for folks right out the gate. I thought that was a real big thing that we all came together on. I thought that was I think we were one of the first communities in the state to lead on that effort. And then in addition, we also provided anything that the schools needed to help the kids during that time. I think multiple members from the council and board of ed were all standing together, handing out food to those that needed it during that time, as the schools stepped up rather quickly and put together an amazing service. We need to give credit to the school board and to Tom Moore for his leadership during that time. But I think, again, our community has really demonstrated a way to kind of put the national politics to the side and really focus on what is necessary for folks. And then one last example was the way that we stepped up for the restaurants in town and provided one of the best outdoor eating arrangements in the entire state that I think multiple communities also tried to emulate. And I think those are all some really good examples of that. I think that I think all of us on here can all talk about, we were all supportive of, and it's a really good, it's really great to be a part of, a team that works that way. And I think that while we're not perfect, we don't vote together on everything. There's a lot of stuff that we came together on in the time that the town needed us the most.
Thank you, Liam. Anyone else that would like to address anything new in that area? Okay, seeing none, I have a question on waste disposal. This is an issue in communities across the state and certainly in our town. What is your opinion regarding unit-based pricing? That is, paying a waste collection fee based on your own personal usage. Do you support applying for state sustainability grants to try new disposal or recycling initiatives? And a second sub-question, what's a good approach to recycling in your opinion? And that question goes first to Mary Fay.
Thank you, Carol, very much. We've got to do something, but as I said earlier, when we were voting on the TCI resolution, doing something doesn't mean doing anything, or doing anything. And I objected to TCI because it is a gas tax. So I think people are still hurting. I appreciated Mr. DeHaaf's comments about the business owners. That's absolutely true. Although I do agree with Lamb. We do agree a lot. That we've done whatever we can for small businesses, and COVID, the overarching event just really, really, really hurt them. But there's people too who are really, really hurting. People are out of work. Maybe one spouse has a job, but the other doesn't. Wages have been cut or at least flat. Things aren't really rosy financially for a lot of folks. So I'm concerned about that. And I think the town really does pull together for very big things. I think the food bank is an example. That's all volunteer based and it's people's individual contributions. So I think we need to do more of that. But getting back to garbage, I think probably West Hartford is probably one of the most aware communities that they really do recycle. When we had the blue bins every week, they were full. People were using them, and they're using the pink bags for materials, and they're using the brown disposals for yard waste. So I'm proud of the folks in our town, and I think they're trying to do as much as they can. Is there room for improvement? Yes. And we're trying to do some education, and there's people on Public Works Committee who devote themselves to that. We've got to come up with a solution. I'd like to avoid giving another cost, passing it on to residents and businesses. I really would like to avoid that. So I think that's another chance where we can come together and really figure this out, problem solve for everybody. But it is a big problem. It's something that we can't put our heads in the sand, and we need to address it. But I would be in favor of figuring out how to recycle more, although that's an issue too. It'll take too longer, where recyclers aren't taking as much as they used to. So we've got to come together and figure this out. But thank you for the question. I prefer no additional fees to residents and business. Thank you.
All right, someone else talking about the sustainability grants from the state that are available, other approaches to recycling.
So, Sherry, I'll just quickly, there are, the problem with solid waste is the cost is going up, whether we want it to or not. So as far as paying more, the question is, how do we pay for it? And those costs are going up. So we have a recycling coordinator that we've invested a lot of research and resources to residents to understand what to recycle, how to recycle, so we don't have contamination, and we do that. But we do have to work on our solid waste management. And part of our public works plan is to have a transfer station. And when you have a transfer station, residents can control more and hopefully dispose of more in a more environmentally sound, sustainable way. At that point, we might want to look at unit-based pricing because we have structural ways for residents to actually strategically and environmentally and sustainability wise get rid of their solid waste.
All right. Anyone else on this?
Yes, Carol, if I may, again, Lee Gold. I want to say
Thank you,
I want to say through you, but that's for another day. Anyways, I too think that the town needs, the taxpayers need to be educated also about recycling. And I think it's a very important aspect of not only on a local basis, but even more so beyond to a global way. But it starts at home in our backyards. It starts with understanding what needs to be recycled, how it can be recycled. And yes, the costs are increasing, and we have to come up with real answers to address these concerns so that we can make appropriate decisions going forward to best situate the town to address small business owners who might have a dumpster in their backyard where things get dumped in there unnecessarily. So there's a lot of different issues that we have to address going forward. And I think it's important, though, to keep in mind educating people about the environment and understanding what makes sense and how we can really keep things clean and reusable. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Anyone else on recycling and waste management? Mr. DeHaas, did I see your hand?
Yeah, I just have a quick thought on it. You guys could already be doing this, but so I generally just think that I like local government, maybe even regional government. I think that's the most efficient way to run a government, and maybe to coordinate with the Greater Hartford County more on and to have a more comprehensive plan for everyone in the area. Maybe that's something that can be looked into in the future. And if you guys have already done that, it's like, I'm not really sure, but I would like to learn more about what's going on. And honestly, if I do get elected, I would want to work more with our neighbors. So that would be something that I would look into, and that could be the way to drive costs down. It really, we need to explore all avenues, really. And also, I really just wanted to comment that I first learned about this isn't our waste and recycling, but with the sewage system, how it's outdated over 100 years. When I first learned that, I grew very passionate on how to figure out, let's get that upgraded. Let's just get that done. We got to upgrade the sewage system in the town.
Okay. If there are no other responses here, I'd like just to check in on the time that each of you has used with our timers. I did get a note from David Pettijohn, who
yes, and there was an
that
yes, and the update there. Yes, and the update on Mr. DeHaas is it's now at a little over 4.5 minutes, based from the update that I gave you before.
Okay, and you said that Mrs. Cantor has used 2 minutes and 45 seconds,
Yes.
and Mr. Sweeney has used 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yes.
Okay, and Libby Svitek, do you have some time for us on your candidates?
Yes, Lee Gold has 1 minute and 33 seconds left.
Okay. And Mary Fay has how much time?
You talking to me?
Yes, about 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Yes.
about that.
Okay, all right, everybody's set. So going to question number 6. What is your thinking on a balanced, affordable housing versus market rate housing in town? Consider rental and home ownership. What role should zoning play in this? And this question goes first to Sherry. Kent.
Thank you very much. This is an important question. So we have a housing authority, the West Hartford Housing Authority, that we work with very closely. West Hartford actually has, we are in a different place than much of the state with zoning. We do have a lot of multifamily housing, a lot of multifamily zoning in certain areas in our community. We also have single family zoning. We did a pretty, it was an initiative that we've been working on. Ben Winograd was the leader on this, was to approve accessory dwelling units in single family districts. This is not making something a two family. This is truly an accessory unit to a larger home. And the ordinance does specify that very, very clearly. So it gives some option for potential income to a homeowner or to a homeowner to downsize and age in place. So it gives some flexibility to a homeowner to allow for that. We actually have, we're going through an inventory of our affordable housing, and we're going to be doing a needs assessment, and we may be making some suggestions on some zoning changes out of that. But right now, we do feel that we have a number of activities going on. We have 616 New Park that was just built on the corridor mixed. That's a mixed income development. 540 New Park, also mixed income development. As we just spoke about, one park that adjusted also has workforce housing as part of that initiative, and Berkshire Road. Those are the first two private developments that have had workforce housing as part of their projects. As far as home ownership goes, that's something that I've been talking with the town manager about, and we're discussing on potential projects. And if we have working with the housing authority and working with other nonprofits to provide some wraparound services, possibly for first home buyers. And that's something I really would like to accomplish in this next term. Thank you.
Anyone else? On housing.
Yes, hi, Carol. This is I think we do have a great variety of housing stock here in town, and we've got new product coming online quite often. We've got condos that came up, multiple new developments with apartments, very, very nice apartments. And we've got more coming. So anyway, I think we've got wide variety, wide price ranges, wide, variety. The ADUs, I'm a little dubious about them. You never know how they're going to turn out or what purpose they're going to serve. I think zoning is very critical for a bunch of things. Business infrastructure, transportation, but also people's rights. So I think when people purchase property, which is probably going to be their largest investment ever in their lifetime, and they rely on the zoning of where they are, I think there's some consistency that we owe homeowners. I believe we've got to spread out home ownership, but there's a bunch of programs available, whether it's CHFA or financing programs or Habitat. We're trying to do what we can, I believe, to make sure people have a roof over their head. I think people deserve that. So I think we're doing a pretty good job, but I think if we can go over the taxes a little bit more, we'll be able to keep seniors in their homes, which I keep getting letters about that they're struggling, even with a paid off mortgage, between the property taxes approaching 10,000, 12,000 or more, and their homeowners, et cetera. It's tough. So we've really got to take a hard look at that and help people, I think, reward them for buying in our town, and hopefully they can stay there. But, there are more and more coming online, which do have affordable rental units in there. And I think that's good. We need to accommodate folks, and we're doing the best that we can. There's probably room for improvement, but we'll collaborate and try to get more ideas. Big point that I wanted to make was that I believe zoning is a local issue. It should stay local. We should not pass it on to the state or the federal government for that matter. So I think that's critical that West Hartford has control of its own zoning. Thank you.
Mr. DeHaas.
Yeah, I just want to say something very quickly. The mayor mentioned a coordination with nonprofits. Now, please don't take this as like as like a harsh thing that I'm saying, and that I don't want to talk about the other ideas, because I want to talk about the other ideas on the other side of the spectrum. That's the point. We need to talk about it because I have a different approach than the mayor does, because I actually think you should keep the private sector separate from the public sector. And maybe, and I'm just an idealist, but maybe then nonprofits would have an easier time working with the community directly, and not just our elected officials and the official government, but to work with community members directly, because also under this scenario, they have more money because the government took less tax money. So you have to think about that. But under this scenario, the community can find solutions to these same problems. So, I really think we need to have conversations. We all have different ideologies, and we all just got to talk. That's the key to democracy, to listen to one another. So,
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, then I'm going to ask a question that you've probably gotten, and this is about COVID masking and vaccinations. What is your position for the town of West Hartford regarding these issues? Masking, vaccinations, and looking down the road long term, because this doesn't seem to be going away very quickly. And this question goes to Mr. DeHaas first.
all right, cool. This is a very heavy question. Yeah, COVID was a horrible thing. We're still feeling it, and it's like I think we all agree with this. We should do what's best for the health and safety of the community, and we should listen to the science, right? I think we all agree with that statement. But I think a lot of us just have different views on what science is, and to me, the reality is that a lot of things about COVID and just really science in general is unclear. Like human beings can't really know things to the real substance behind it. And with COVID, like I personally have questions that are on the mainstream media's perception of what COVID, like for example, natural immunity for people who had the virus, should they still get vaccinated? I think that's many different doctors and scientists tell you different things. Also, I keep hearing that if you get vaccinated, you won't spread it as much as those who are unvaccinated. I don't understand that at all. I am still waiting for someone to send me a link to the data, to the stats, to the science, because the way I see it, if COVID is a contagious virus, and if you're vaccinated, but COVID's in your system, you can spread it. That's the way I think that's just common sense to me. So, it's like when it comes to our communities and mandates, I just think like a local mandate makes so much more sense, because this is what we've determined in our local community, what works best. This is what's working, that mask mandate. A vaccine mandate, I believe in, that is a big topic. I do believe in personal liberty, especially if you had COVID. It's such a mess right now with the issue. But yeah, is that 2 minutes?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. A tough one. Yes. Someone else, get another view on masking and what we should be doing with West Hartford.
I just want to make it clear that although I as mayor, I have input into decisions, this is actually the town manager's decision. And that is, he is the CEO. We are volunteers. We're a policy board. We are elected leaders, but we are a policy board. But so the town manager, I just want to make it very clear that this is the town manager's authority. He uses the health department's advice, talks to the superintendent of schools, our police, our fire, myself, and our emergency management director to make those collaborative decisions. But this is something we're going to have to live with. It doesn't look like COVID's going away. And so I think there might be periods of we let go of masks, and then maybe if there are, if there is a variant or something happening in our town where we might have to pick that up. And there will be individual decisions on whether, and in a crowded place, I feel like I need to wear a mask to protect myself. So I think we're going to do that. But right now we're in a in-between spot. We've actually started to be on a downward trend, and we are discussing when does that mask mandate maybe get eased in some way. So in particular situations, there have been, anyway, so those are decisions we're going to need to be making soon.
Thank you. Mr. Gold.
Yes, Carol, thank you very much. And I too, I echo some of the mayor's sentiment in that regard. That our town manager, Mr. Hart, is the CEO of our town, makes those decisions. But again, we need to use common sense in our approach. We have to look at for me, it's data driven. We have to listen to our health experts. I'm an attorney. I'm not a medical doctor or health expert. So I want to understand all the facts as I process everything, so that we can make an appropriate decision going forward from a policy standpoint, so that our town manager has the right information and understands what it is that he's doing to make us safe. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, Carol, may I please? This is Mary.
Yes, Mary.
Yeah, I first priority is to keep everybody safe. Obviously it is, but there's been so much controversy around masks or not masks and vaccines. I try to keep up. It's extremely hard even to read the facts and the cases and hospitals and so forth. I think when it becomes tough is when you force something to somebody else's body or mandate that. I am vaccinated fully, but I don't know that it should be mandated on others because they all have their different reasons for not wanting it. I think I did it. I made the choice to keep our family and me and everybody else safe, but I don't know that we should be forcing them, especially when they're relatively new. I think the mask is a tough one because I don't know that it really accomplishes what we think it does. But I will say that if mask is what it takes to keep kids in school and that they won't be in school, if they don't wear a mask, they've got to stay in school. At some point, I believe they will not be wearing masks, and that would be great. But I think our priority should be around keeping people safe, giving individual freedoms and liberties for those who want the shot or don't, and to make sure that we keep our kids in school. I think that's really incredibly important. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Day. And anyone else?
I just want to add to Mary's, I just want to say she's absolutely right. Number one priority is keeping everyone safe and keeping kids in school. And if masks right now is what it takes, then that's what we need to do.
All right. I think we have run out of time for questions, and it is time for you to give your closing statements. And I invite you to get ready with your 2 minutes, and for our timers to set a 2-minute clock so that we make sure we get everyone's statements in. And we are going in reverse order of how the questions went out. So Ms. Fay gets to go first with her closing statement. And I think we're not hearing you, so I don't see that you're muted, but Jennifer, can you help us with Ms. Fay's mic? Mary, if you don't mind, can you hear me? Mary? Can we move to someone else, Mary, and come back to you if we try to get that fixed? Thank you. So Liam, would you please go to your closing statement?
Be happy to. Again, I wanted to thank the League of Women Voters for putting together today's debate. It's been a real pleasure being here with everyone and having this very civil conversation, which is kind of uncommon in today's political world. So the last 2 years, I think, have been difficult on all of us. It's been difficult on our family, but there have been people in town that have lost everything. They have lost family members. They've lost their businesses. And I think the main focus that I've brought to the council over the last 2 years is on how to help folks during this time. During that time, Mayor Cantor took the bull by the horns and along with the town manager and really guided us through some really difficult times, times that were unprecedented here in town. But what did we see? We saw the town step up for its residents. We saw the town come out and provide tax relief to those that had renters and not being able to make the monthly payment. We saw the town step up for the restaurants that weren't able to have people inside. So we provided outdoor seating for them. We saw the recreation department through collaboration with the town council to provide additional services for kids outside. And we saw our school system, because it had the resources, step up for our kids by providing iPads and tablets for them on the day one when we no longer go to school. In addition to that, we also were providing meals for families who lost everything during that period of time. And so over the last 2 years, it has been a struggle for us. It's been a struggle to serve in this capacity as a father of two with two kids being homeschooling during that time. But it has been an absolute honor to do so. And I hope that the people of West Hartford once again reelect me to town council and the rest of the Democrats on Row A. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Fay, are you ready? Try to unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, I can hear you.
You can hear me now? All right.
I can, yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for this evening. It's been my pleasure to be your minority leader and seeking re-election. It's been an honor and privilege to serve West Hartford, and West Hartford truly is a special place. But we cannot rest on our laurels. Strong governance rests on values. Fairness and respect for all, independence, and grit were values I was brought up with. These traits will push you to achieve the American dream, no matter what that means to you. My family and I certainly worked extremely hard to achieve our dream. I'm concerned that West Hartford is at a tipping point on many fronts. Public safety, fiscal policy and taxation, education, and respect and tolerance. Crime is increasing and worse, escalating. In our town alone, we have armed carjacking, shootings, cars stolen and lit on fire. In surrounding towns, 2 shots were fired at a woman as her car was stolen and another woman assaulted, thrown in her trunk, robbed, and dumped in Berlin. She is fighting for her life. I come from a law enforcement agent family, and that's very important to me. I know what these guys do every time they go out of their house. We never know if they're going to come back. I think we really got to focus on and make sure that police have all the tools, whether it's community policing or whatnot, to make sure that they can keep us safe. And we've done a great job. My kudos to our police force, fire force, and all our first responders and our health department. I really appreciate the work you do. Of course, we need to get our fiscal house in order and be as efficient as possible. We need to keep our schools top notch and focus on the children. While some send their children to other places, I'm proud my daughter attends West Hartford Public Schools. Lastly, we need to hear all voices, support our businesses, stamp out cancel culture, and focus on a positive vision for West Hartford's future. I look forward to your vote on November 2nd, as well as all of Row B. My teammates are very fine individuals with great experience, and I hope you elect the entire Republican team. And again, it's been a true honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fay. And we move now to Mr. Gold.
Thank you, Carol. This has been quite a journey so far. Over 2 years ago, I decided to run for town council here in West Hartford. I'm humbled and grateful to be elected to serve the town. These past 2 years have not been easy. We continue to experience a global pandemic as well as social unrest. The way we go about our lives have drastically changed. Normal is not what it used to mean. I never thought I would be involved in governing on our town via WebEx or Zoom, or actually having a virtual debate like we're doing tonight. We have adjusted and continue to move forward. I am an optimist and believe in public service. My goals have always been the same, and I remain focused and committed to them. I want West Hartford to continue to achieve and be a positive force in our state. I worked hard these past 2 years to focus and stabilize our budget. Even during a pandemic, our budget has increased nominally. I've pushed for the issuance of pension obligation bonds to stabilize the annual cost of funding the pensions of municipal workers. This is one of the first items I discussed with our town manager when I was elected. I was happy to see it implemented and thank all those who were involved. I've also implemented dialogue about our pension plan going forward for all municipal workers. This dialogue did not exist until I raised it and worked across the aisle to begin these conversations. I voted for strategic consolidation of all municipal buildings. This is important for the financial stability of our town. Local business owners, as we talked about, purchased St. Mary's Home and began the construction of a 274-unit apartment building, providing hundreds of thousands of tax dollars to our town in perpetuity. This property was paying zero to the town in taxes. I felt this was a unique opportunity that we should not have passed on. We need to look in terms of decades, as I said before, not months. We cannot be short-sighted in how we strategically plan for the future of West Hartford. I also know that strategically, West Hartford is ready for a new voice. I formed a Connecticut Party of West Hartford for just that purpose. I want to work to get things done. We want to be a moderate voice. We want to provide a voice for all of West Hartford. I want to work and collaborate regardless of party affiliation. We must fight injustices to all races, religions, and nationalities. We must be concerned about our environment so that those that come after us have a planet to call home. I've heard from my colleagues that words matter. I agree. However, I also feel that one's actions help to define who you are and are just as powerful. It's important we move forward together with purpose and transparency for a brighter future. I hope I can count on your support now and on November 2nd, and for my party, a Connecticut Party of West Hartford. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. And Mr. DeHaas, you are next.
Okay. Well, West Hartford, we all know it. It's a great area. It's a great community. It's probably one of the nicest towns in New England, Connecticut. It's a great place. I grew up here. Its appearance is far different from other places in the area. Now, I'm honestly not that worried about West Hartford. I recently became more aware of specific issues in West Hartford, and I could definitely help to solve a lot of them, especially the sewage thing, which is pretty ridiculous. But I am just worried for the nation. It's really the nation is in a lot of trouble, I feel like, and so I'm running as a libertarian. I love what Lee is doing with the Connecticut Party. I really think the future of American politics, which is American democracy, which is the best one in the world, right? The future is moving away from the two parties. And I speak to all the panelists up there. You guys aren't defined by your R and your D. You guys are individuals. You guys, it's like I'm kind of urging you guys, hey, maybe I make it a point. These two parties, they've grown to a point where it's time to move on. I kind of believe in regional coalitions, regional parties. I also think local government is the best way to solve the social, political, and economic issues that our civilization faces. And I would love to help West Hartford show the rest of the country and show the world that these issues can be solved, that we don't need Washington to solve these issues. We can do it ourselves.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeHaas. And finally, Ms. Cantor.
Thank you. I want to thank all of the candidates that have put their name forward to serve in a volunteer position to serve this wonderful town of West Hartford. I love the town. I have, over these past 2 years almost, I have given tirelessly to serve every single resident, business owner, employee in West Hartford. And I want to continue to do that. These really have been challenging and tragic times, but we've navigated it together and we're stronger coming out of this together. Our public schools, I'm so proud of all that they have done. Our students receive an outstanding education, but it's because of the determination and the flexibility of our teachers and our school administrators who have worked so hard to keep our students healthy and safe. The town has worked really tirelessly to support the business community. We've held many Zoom sessions with senators and our state delegation to get them the help that they need. We We were creative and innovative, quickly pivoting to expanding where they could do business onto sidewalks and streets, strengthening our whole community. We are a AAA bond rated community, and with my leadership, the pension obligation bonds, the funding has changed, and we already will be seeing millions of dollars. We have seen and will see millions of dollars of savings from this new funding mechanism. As mayor, I will continue to provide you with honest information, and we how to stay safe and the resources that are available to you and your loved ones. West Hartford is a great place to live and a great place to be. We have thriving businesses and we are a warm and welcoming community, but this isn't by chance. None of this happens just because we decided, now we're going to do that. It's because of years and years and years of good governance. The Democratic team leads with strength, caring, integrity, and innovation. Our town has a bright future as long as we work together to get there. On November 2nd, vote for myself, Sherry Cantor, and vote for all of row A for a successful, strong, and vibrant West Hartford.
Thank you very much. Thank you all candidates again for your contribution to our community and going through this democratic process that is so important, running for public office and serving your fellow citizens. To all of you out there who get to review this, we hope that this debate assists you when you get prepared to vote on November 2nd. As mentioned previously, this is the first of 3 town council debates. The others are following on this particular evening and will be shown throughout the month of October on WHC TV, and there will be links advertised for people to participate and not have to go into each individual debate. You can always watch it on WHC TV's Channel 5 and Channel 95 for the Frontier and all those other different channels that we have around there. We also will have a Board of Education debate that will be up and coming tomorrow and will get the online. So please get to know your candidates, exercise your right to vote, go to the League's website where these candidates will be seen in a voter's guide. It's called vote411.org, and also find links to WHC TV. Reminding you that you can find your find out if you are registered to vote by going to the Secretary of the State's office. You can also find a tab to click at the vote411.org. You can do everything in one site, and certainly can go to the Secretary of the State's office and to our own town registrar's office too to get information. So again, thank you everyone, and best wishes as you continue your campaign.